Fuck off. I hate, I don't really like my big toe. I have a giant big toe.
Just one?
And what did she call you?
Hot Jake.
Yeah.
I mean,
We almost burned down the Airbnb.
Yeah. We almost burned down the Airbnb, that thing.
I didn't think he could read. I was just like, oh, he's good at math. Yeah,
So you guys that old joke about Pringles was going to be a tennis ball company, but when the tennis balls were supposed to show up, it was a bag of potatoes. So they're like, fuck it, cut them up.
Yeah.
I'm not a person that says no. I always say yes, and then I figure it out.
Hey guys, welcome to the Just Gonna Send It podcast. I'm your host, Jim Bolosic, CEO of SendCutSend. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest, Jake Holland.
Oh, very special.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, we go way back. Jake is an accomplished mechanical engineer, designer, business owner, outdoorsman, race car driver, fabricator, welder, devastatingly handsome. Like, I don't know, what can't you do? Super excited to have you on the pod and talk about all your accomplishments, but more about actually how you were able to get to those accomplishments. So, like, how did you start? Where did you come from? So, right now, you are founder of your newest venture, HAViK, and you guys are doing outdoors, tactical stuff, blades. Blades is your first product, yeah?
Yeah, so blades are going to be like the baseline that we're going to try to build a company off of, but we're going to try to get into just more outdoor gear and equipment and stuff for, different kind of hunting, fishing, hiking, or just everyday carry kind of stuff. And that's kind of where we're starting.
All manufactured in your shop?
Yep, and partnered a little bit with SendCutSend, right? So, we get a lot of raw materials and stuff straight out of SendCutSend, and then we're doing a lot of finishing stuff in the shop.
Okay. And you had done a knife thing in the past, too. I mean, that's kind of how we met.
Yeah, that's actually exactly how we met. Yeah, so when SendCutSend was in its infancy, right, you guys were, I guess, on R at the time. Yep. I would come down with, like, a piece of metal and be like, can you cut out this knife for me? And then we'd bullshit for a little bit while you guys cut it on the laser, and then I'd come home.
You're actually the reason why we don't take customer material.
Oh, yeah, because I came down with those crappy Damascus.
Yeah, he'd come by
blanks.
with a, 6-inch by 1-inch piece of Damascus that he got off eBay or something, and was like, hey, can you chuck this into this massive laser, and please, I need every millimeter on it, because I designed it 5.99 inches by 0.99 inches, and I need all the scrap and everything because I'm going to do something else. And we're like, sure, we can totally do it. And then we learned to never say yes to that again. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's a learning experience for all of us. I don't do it that way either anymore. But no, that's exactly it. I got those off of eBay, and I was trying to squeeze everything out. Yeah. But yeah, at the time though, on the first knife company, it ended up becoming like one of 3 jobs that I had at the same time.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah,
and that's why it kind of went away last time.
You were also a mechanical and manufacturing engineer at GE.
Yep.
You were mechanical and manufacturing engineer at Hamilton. You ran the University of Nevada, Reno's weird science lab machine shop thing.
Yeah, the College of Science at the university had a machine shop that they needed engineers to design and build experimental equipment for the different research groups, mostly because they're doing things that have never existed before. So you have to design it, build it, and manufacture it.
I remember when I went there to go see it, and you guys made this kind of crazy vacuum system, and the engineer there, I forget his name, he was telling me about the level of vacuum that it was, and he was like, basically, if you go half the distance between the Earth and the Moon, that's the level of vacuum. He's like, we could do a lot better, though. And it just blew my mind.
Crazy, deep space vacuum is wild, and the amount of particles that are in that atmosphere. Essentially, they're trying to shoot something through like a container, but if there's particles in the air, right?
So
there's
it doesn't
particles
hit
in
anything?
And you don't want it to hit and reflect off of those. Okay. And so they're trying to pull vacuum, remove everything that's in there, so it's a complete void, just like space, and then they can get accurate results.
Yeah, so you've dabbled in a little bit of everything, and not everyone just jumps into running the university's machine shop and making these crazy vacuum devices. Not everyone just sets up a mill in their shop and starts a knife company. Not everyone can just get behind the wheel of a race car and start winning races. So let's go way, way back to your upbringing, because I think it's important for the audience to understand, when you hear about these people with cool accomplishments, cool careers, usually it didn't start, out of the blue. It started when, they were in diapers or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So where'd you grow up?
So I was born in Reno, but when I was 3, we moved out into Northern California, just out in the middle of the sticks. It's actually where my parents grew up.
Like what? Where? Like Georgetown, kind of Northern California, or Redding, or?
Yeah, I guess for people, it's Gray Eagle, California. There's a small town called Calpine, which has even less people in it. And so I grew up in Calpine, California. I think my brother and I were one of like the 3 kids that were in that town. Yep. We had a 45-minute bus drive to school. That kind of stuff. It was just in the middle of nowhere. And so every single day was just outside throwing rocks at each other because I had a brother, obviously.
Dirt bikes.
Dirt bikes. Yeah, we had these 3-wheelers and the zingers, if you remember what a zinger is. We used to race those things every single day, roll over each other and stuff, and just keep on going. And
so I start to hear that it's a common trend where if you grow up in the sticks, if you have a 45-minute bus ride, it tends to develop a lot of really innovative people, because you can't just go down the street to the hardware store. You have to go back in the woodshed. If you roll over your zinger and you bust the clutch lever, you have to go fix it with whatever you got in the shop. So did that have an influence on you?
100%. Yeah, we had a huge just scrap yard kind of in the corner, as everybody does out in the sticks.
Yes.
And so you just go out there, you grab a piece of metal, you come in with the settling torch, and you cut out your new shift lever or whatever you needed to do with the drill, and put it back on the zinger, and you go back to racing again and stuff. And so it definitely was that way. I mean, my mom and my dad are like the influence and stuff for me to be who I am today and stuff. But my dad, especially he's a mechanic, he can build anything. That guy's really, really clever. But he's also old school, right? So he's building things with acetylene torches, grinders, stick welders, most times and stuff outside. And so I've been fortunate to watch him when he gets in a pickle, right? He needs to make something. We're an hour from the nearest store. I've watched him just go out there with some soapstone, draw it out, cut it out, and he's back up and running.
Yeah, and he probably watched his father before him and his father before him, and so on and so forth. So one thing as an employer of mechanical engineers, of manufacturing engineers, I find that the best people grew up in that environment where they understand, hey, if I have a hacksaw and a chunk of metal, I can make the part, whereas people who grew up with bounty, or they grew up with plenty because maybe their dad allowed them to order off McMaster or something, they are not as creative when something goes sideways and there's limitations or constraints. They have a tough time functioning within those constraints because they didn't grow up in it. So 100%. That kind of background, it kind of rocket ships you towards a very productive career in mechanical engineering or manufacturing engineering, because it's the only thing that you know.
Yeah.
Do you remember like a situation where you just had to make something from scratch and make it work for whatever reason, like when you were growing up?
Well, so, especially when we got into racing and stuff, there's, say a bolt that's way down in a hole. And I think there's been a lot of people that have done this and stuff, but my dad used to have just like a drawer full of Harbor Freight wrenches. And we'd take a torch to that, cut it, and bend it, and you turn it into this big S-jig thing that kind of go down there, and you're grinding it thinner so you can get into the spot. And I do remember literally making a wrench for a very specific bolt that I had to get to all the time, and it was just in the drawer, and nobody was allowed to touch it because I made it, and it was perfect. It was just one of those things where you're just heating things up, bending it in there and stuff. Maybe I didn't necessarily make that wrench, and I made that wrench fit exactly what I needed. I should have sold that. Should have just made this little S wrench, and it's like, hey, this gets down into your bell housing if you have a small block Chevy in this car.
So I can picture you and your brother racing zingers around the property, and then what else? Racing's obviously in your blood.
Yeah.
How did you get started? Like what else were you racing with wheels?
Well, so my dad never actually did race, but he always was into motorcycles and stuff. And my cousins raced motocross. And when he kind of wanted us to get into racing or understand it and stuff, he got us into karting. So just go-kart, pavement go-karts. Yeah. And I remember distinctively, I guess I was 9 going on 10, that we went out, we looked at the carts, and he like sat us down at this park here in Reno, and he's like, hey, like if we're gonna buy these carts for you guys, you're gonna be 100% in. And a big reason why he was wanting to get us into karting was just to teach us how to wrench on things, right? How to build things and be innovative. And in the side, I think he just wanted to go racing, right? And at the time, I didn't want to race. I was like, nah, like I want to play football with my buddies, or I want to play baseball. And my brother's like, I want to race. And so he was like, I guess he was like 8 and I was 9-ish. And so we ended up buying the carts because I was like, oh, okay, I'll race. And right off the bat, I'm obsessed with racing. My brother was like, give it or take it, right? So we like flip-flopped hard. And we started winning races and then got really into racing. And my brother had a bad crash when he was young, kind of spooked him. And so he kind of slowly dipped out of racing, and then it was just pretty much me.
What was next after karting?
So after karting, we got into dirt circle track stuff. Yep. So when I was 13, my dad decided we were going to build a pro stock car at the time, is the class. And he had some friends that were racing the pro stocks that were all adults, right? They were 50 years old and stuff. And he's like, I'm going to put my 14-year-old against you guys. And
we were tall enough? Like,
it was a thing, man.
Okay,
like,
yeah.
People,
at 14, I couldn't see over the dashboard.
Yeah, we finished it when I was 14. I officially raced it when I was 15.
Okay.
And so I didn't even have a driver's license, like that kind of thing. But, he's sticking me out there in a full-size car. It was a Buick Regal.
Nice.
And at the time, like those Buicks were the ones to get because the class, you had to use stock geometry. And that metric frame on those was like, it was as close as you could to get to perfection because you couldn't move all the A-arm positions and stuff on them.
Okay.
And so it's just a really cool thing. So we actually got 2 Buick Regals. One was a donor car. We eventually ate up the second one because I knocked the clip off the original one.
But you're out there racing with the adults and getting some trophies? Are you winning? Or
I think in that class, I don't think I did too much winning. What I ended up doing is they make you start in the back early on. And in the very first race, I think I started like 23rd, finished like 7th. Passed everybody on the high side. Nobody was up there. I was like, this is easy kind of stuff. Yeah. And then a second race, they didn't make me start in the back anymore. They were like, oh, you're okay. And got a lot of respect, I think, from the guys. But always kind of just was improving. And then right as I got to the point of probably starting to win races in that class, I moved to a different class.
Yeah. So, what was next after dirt?
I had like 2 things at the same time happen. I got at the time, it was called the NASCAR Wheeling Series. I don't think it's available anymore, but there was a guy that had a car, didn't have a driver, offered me to drive that. So I raced in California for a year and on pavement oval on the late models when I was 16, going on 17. We did okay. There wasn't a great crew. Like there wasn't a lot of money and stuff backing it. And with pavement racing, money kind of helps win races. But at the end of the season, started qualifying in the top 5, finishing, up there in the front and stuff, which is a big deal and stuff. And felt really good about that. And then I immediately ended up getting pulled right back into dirt racing again, dirt oval, and I moved into the IMCA modifieds. Another guy bought a car, wanted to drive it, broke his arm, like he had to have surgery on his shoulder and his arm. And so he wanted to see the car on the track because he spent all this money. Yeah. And then so he asked me to drive it, and I immediately started winning races in that. I think I won the second race and I was ever in a modified. Felt really good about it, and it was just fit my driving style really well.
So then where does racing end for you?
So I raced for 20 years total. So I raced from when I was pretty much 9 to 29.
Okay, so like through college?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. I did most of my racing. Like my heaviest racing was in college because, like my parents, thankfully they were helping foot that bill. I had a lot of good sponsors. Like my fuel was paid for, my tires were paid for, my engines were paid for.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if I won races, typically that paid for the next race's entry fees, and we could just kind of keep rolling.
I mean, you're getting a degree in engineering. You're like doing crazy ass math and homework and stuff too at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, you know me, I don't sleep much.
No,
so
I know.
I just grind. Yeah. And so we did my biggest year was when I was in college, where I was like winning like regional races. Okay. We were winning money shows and stuff and doing really well.
I have noticed that you perform at your best when you're burning the candle at both ends.
Dude, back against the wall, just like fighting it like a mountain lion's in front of you. Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to skip a little bit because speaking of like just grinding and just batshit crazy levels of energy, there's a story of you hunting and you didn't want to spook the animal or whatever, so you took off your boots and you crawled barefoot or some shit for like.
I always hunt with my boots off.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so yeah, archery hunting and stuff, you have to get so close. You know, a rifle, you can get to 100 yards, no problem on an animal, or most people can. But like archery, you're closing it in, you know, under 50. I like to get underneath 50. I don't like to take longer shots than that. That's just a personal preference. They just move a lot when the arrow's in the air. And so, yeah, I take my boots off because you're so much quieter. If you walk outside with your boots and then take your boots off and walk outside, it's such a huge difference.
Dude, I can't go anywhere barefoot. Like if I step on the smallest little thing, it collapses me. I have baby soft feet. So
You got to walk more with.
I don't wear
shoes on.
flip-flops. I don't wear flip-flops at all. Like I don't really like my big toe. I have a giant big toe.
Just one, or is it both the big toes?
No, both. Like,
Okay, I was worried it was lopsided.
Throwing up like a minute.
Yeah, my
Big toe.
my special guest daughter is in the room and she is laughing her ass off.
She's confirming.
Yeah,
that
I
his
can
toes are all
stand
messed
in a
up.
corner of a room like at a 90 degree and anyway, I don't like my feet. I don't know how this became like a foot pod.
Okay,
Maybe we'll get better ratings.
Dude, this might be your highest rated podcast.
So, okay, sorry, I had to digress because there's some like legend of Jake Holland things of you know, just doing, you pushing the limits basically, like pushing until failure, I guess, and whether that's sleep deprivation.
I like
or,
type 2 fun. Do you know what type 2 fun is?
yeah. Explain to the audience.
Type 2 fun is when it's like absolutely miserable in the moment, and like that wasn't really necessarily the plan, but like later on, you're like, that was the shit. Like that was the best thing ever. Like I don't like roller coasters. That's type 1 fun. It's fun in the moment. You forget about it. Like I couldn't even tell you the last roller coaster I was on, but I can tell you like my deer that I packed out last fall. I can tell you every inch of that mountain because it was brutal. Like went through 2 liters of water. It was like 105 degrees out. It was like 3 miles uphill. It was brutal. And I was with my buddy, which makes it even better.
Yeah. So, okay, let's get back on track a little bit. So you're racing, you're winning, you're also going to college, and you're getting a degree in engineering, right?
Yeah.
Is it mechanical engineering? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Pretty much when I was like 10 years old, I wrote down on a piece of paper that I was going to be a mechanical engineer.
Okay.
And so it was just, I like
What did
had
you
that
want
part
to do
figured out.
at 10? Like if you're like, okay, I'm 10 years old, I want to do this. I want my degree in mechanical engineering because I want to.
Just be better at the thing that I was already like enjoying and loving, which
What did
was
you want to build?
building anything. I didn't actually care.
Okay.
It was
You weren't
more of
like
like
airplanes or rocket ships or just anything.
no, it was anything. Mostly, I just wanted to be better at like understanding like how physical things work, make things like if I was going to build a car, I wanted to have the knowledge to build it really, really well.
Got it. Okay.
So,
So now you're not 10, you're 18, 19, 20, whatever, going to school with your degree, or you're earning towards your degree in mechanical engineering. At that point, what did you want to do? You're like, oh, I'm going to graduate at some point. I'm going to have this piece of paper that says I can go get a pretty cool job. Like, what was your dream job at that point?
I mean, I was still gung ho for being in the racing industry at the time.
Okay.
Like I was heavily involved in racing. Like it was figured out and stuff with that. The only difficulty thing is that there's racing the cars is a hard thing to do professionally, right? There's just so many people driving and there's not that many seats to sit in. And so when I was kind of finishing up college, I have a lot of contacts in the racing industry. I ended up getting an opportunity with T&D Rocker Arms, which happens to be local here in Carson City. And
Okay, that's your first job?
that was my first job out of college, my first full-time job. I had some internships that
But
were
good mix of engineering and automotive, you know.
I thought it was a dream job. I mean, when I first got there, it was going to be like, oh, this is forever. You know, I literally getting race engines sent to me. Like I'm designing custom rocker arms for them. Like I'm getting videos of them going down the strips or whatever they're doing. I did a tractor pull engine. Like it was super cool stuff. But what ended up happening was it's just small mom and pop shop. I had buddies that were making like double what I was making. I was still trying to race. And so like just opportunity wise there, I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to grow here.
Right.
Like I could sit stagnant forever, but I think it's pretty clear that I don't like to sit stagnant.
Yeah.
And so I ended up pulling the trigger, and that's why I ended up moving to GE. I had a lot of friends that were out of college. They were there. There was an opportunity there. They kind of vouched for me, got me an opportunity for an interview, and fit right in there.
And then how long were you at GE?
I was there for 2 years.
And GE is where you got your black belt, right? Your
I have a green belt.
Sigma?
yeah.
Six Sigma?
Yeah, it's a green belt.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's a green belt? I don't even know. Yeah, and in lean manufacturing, it's a green belt.
Like karate.
I don't know.
Green's
Yeah,
the lowest level.
yeah, it is the lowest level.
White is lowest level.
Oh, well, green's not.
I don't know. It is the lowest level of like lean manufacturing techniques and stuff. Yeah.
And so I know basically when you're doing like Lean Six Sigma type stuff, it's based on like value add or savings to the company, right? So like with GE, they say, hey kid, come in here, look at a production line, see if you can make it, produce more or save us some money somewhere.
Yeah, waste reduction.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, it's the idea of you're losing money and time, actual resources, errors, right? So like errors that propagate out. So it's mitigation of errors. So Six Sigma is actually just that, right? It's reduction of errors and stuff. Foolproofing the process, that poke yoke kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you also have like actual time reduction stuff. So maybe you're getting a good product out of it, but you can lean it out and make it a little bit more efficient.
Okay.
That's the other side of it.
Increased capacity.
Yes.
So you were there for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then why'd you leave?
So at the time, it was when there was that big oil industry kind of complex that was going on where the oil barrel prices were like through the roof. GE, the one that I was working with, was tied directly to oil prices. This is like a weird excuse, but essentially they started doing layoffs within GE. I was still like one of the newer hires, and so I started looking for other jobs. I had a kid coming, like literally was like 2 months out from having a kid. They told us that they were doing layoffs on our team, so I was like, I'm out.
So I'm gonna switch directions there again because I think we should talk about your lovely wife.
Oh, she is.
And how you met your lovely wife, because it's one of my favorite stories.
100%. Yeah, we can definitely talk about it. Anyway, I ended up getting a job, left GE. I didn't get laid off, but I ended up getting a job opportunity that was closer to home. It made a lot more sense because I was having a kid.
Yeah, the kids change everything.
So, okay, now we can pop back and talk about Lindsay.
Yeah, because I think it's just awesome. We have to fit a couple Lindsay legends in here. So you are in school.
I was in school. I was a freshman. I was very young. I was 19.
Okay.
And I happened to go to a chemistry lab, and there was a very, very beautiful TA that was teaching that chemistry lab. And I was pretty infatuated with her. And so we kind of went throughout the semester. And I told my buddy that I was living with, I was like, man, I'm going to date my TA. And he's like, yeah, right, blah, blah, blah. And at the time, Lindsay had no idea about any of these plans. She was just teaching me. But I kind of like weaseled in. I went to like every single office hour. And
Oh my God.
I was not in a creepy way.
Dude, and
like,
also, producer Dom, here, can we put a picture of baby Jake too? Because at 19, he looks like a baby.
Very different.
He's so young. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like my wife was in grad school, right? And so she's already like lived a whole life. And I'm like just left my parents' house, just left the womb. And we went through this whole semester and stuff. And then at the end of it, I was like, she was a basketball player. So she was a collegiate basketball player, starter. She's really good at basketball kind of thing. And I kind of knew that. So I was like, hey, we should go play basketball together. And so for some weird reason, she accepted it. She's like, yeah, let's go.
Race car drivers are not usually good at basketball.
I am not. I'm the worst. And we went and played horse. I filled out horse and carriage, and she got an H. And I was like, it was bad. But it was like, we were having fun. I got her to like not be in the lab, and we had, like hung out outside the lab, right, and stuff. And it's summertime and stuff, and we're like talking a lot. And then I got her to go to a baseball game with me, and then it just kind of started like, I was like, okay, I'm like inching my way forward. But she made me work for it. It took me the better part of like 7 months.
So to all the young men listening out there, persistence pays off.
Oh yeah. If you see, so we ended up getting married when I was 21. So I got like, I'm not a person that's like against like dedicating myself to something or like just putting something forward. And we got engaged when I was 20, married when I was 21, but she's 8 years older than me. So if you look at our wedding pictures, it's hilarious. She looks like a cradle robber. It's bad.
This is amazing.
Like now it looks fine. Like we actually look older than her now because I'm weathered from like my lifestyle. But it's at the time it was hilarious. When I met her parents, she lied to them. She was like, "Oh yeah, he's like 23 or 24 or something like that." And we went out to dinner, and he's like, "Do you want a beer?" And I was like 19. I was like, "No, I'm okay."
Oh shit.
And so yeah, it was really it was a really cool thing.
Yeah.
Got married at that time, and then by the time I was out of college and stuff, and I was at GE, we'd been married for 5-6 years and stuff,
Yeah.
and then we ended up having our kid, who's 9 now, which is crazy to think. Time flies.
Yeah. So life kind of hits you, especially with marriage and kids, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I gotta buckle in and go for the job opportunity that's maybe it's not going to be my absolute favorite, but it's going to be something that pays the bills. I mean, that's compromises that you have to do, right?
Nailed it. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yeah, it was down the street. It was a little bit better money, but it wasn't necessarily with my buddies at GE, and I actually enjoyed that job. GE was fantastic to work for. I enjoyed every minute of it. It was just kind of life kind of deals you certain cards, and you got to play those cards. And once I ended up working for, so it was Hamilton Company here in town, worked for them. I was an R&D engineer there on one of the robotic lines. It was actually a really cool job. Like you get to work with, robotics and stuff. They do liquid, like measured handling and stuff for like pipetting
They
and
make
stuff.
like syringes, basically.
They
right?
started
Or
with
really
syringes. Now they do
fancy syringes.
Robotic syringes and stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it was really cool. It was a really well-established company, lots of opportunity, a lot of backing and stuff. Met some really tremendous other engineers and stuff. My manager there was phenomenal. He's still top of my list on like how you do things and stuff. And it was good. But at the time I was racing still. But then it became very clear that I couldn't be a good father and husband and a race car driver.
Racing with the baby is
And working a day job.
very challenging.
Yeah. Well, it's like I would take my car apart throughout the week and put it back together completely. I'd break it down to nothing. I had these little medical trays, and I would go to each corner, and I'd pull everything off, and I'd line it all out. And then I would go through that corner and clean everything up, re-grease it, put it all back on the car. And I would do that every single week. And it was just me, and then I was racing out of town a lot, right? We were racing like kind of all over the West Coast and Idaho and
I'm
Wyoming
sure
and stuff.
Lindsay is just loving this.
She's so
an
independent. She doesn't care. She lived a whole life before she met me. She didn't need me. She was like totally fine. But then when we had a
she's got a
kid, she's
baby.
like, you're home now.
Yeah, that's what changes it, because all of a sudden it's like, why are you leaving? I haven't even taken a shower, or I got to feed and water this damn kid, and then you're going to go play race car driver.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah. And so it became clear. And
does
so
racing stop now? Or is
racing
that-
stopped. Yeah. Racing stopped pretty much right there. So
Okay.
it's like 2 years. And I raced for 1.5 more years.
Okay.
And after we had Nico, so I stopped in 2018, and and I stopped. I decided I was like one of those things where I'm like, I should sell this stuff now because it's worth something. If I wait 5 years and like try to sort of race, then it's gonna be worth nothing. So I just like sold the whole thing. It was like literally everything was in the trailer. A guy came, picked it up, drove away. And for like the first time since I was like 8, I didn't have a race car, which was really weird. It was a huge bummer, obviously, for me. It was like a big turning point in my life of like, well, what do you do now?
Yeah, but
right?
you're also like, you got to man up at some point.
Yeah.
Especially when you have kids. I'm not saying like,
No, you're right, 100%.
you shouldn't like give up on your dreams, but you do have to make sacrifices. Especially with children.
Yeah.
So, that little blonde thing over there, I had the most awesome Mini Cooper S ever, and it was all modified. It was almost 300 horsepower. And then she came along, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to put a baby seat in the Mini Cooper. And that is not possible. And so then I had to sell that. Very sad. Sorry. Look what you did.
And he's never had a cool car since.
Yeah.
No, I've had a string of pretty fun cars, but yeah.
And that's exactly what happened, right? So I ended up figuring out that actually what got me into like hunting and fishing though, because I had to fill that void. But hunting and fishing is not something I have to maintain every single week and do all this stuff. And It's also a little bit cheaper. It was one of those things where I'm like, it's like 1 week a year that I'm like, I'm going to be gone hunting, or I could go fishing on like random days or when we go camping or something, right?
Got it.
And so it allows me to like have a little bit of like thrill. Hunting is, especially archery hunting, is very difficult and stuff.
So after Hamilton, because maybe you're not 100% fulfilled there for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And then where do you go?
So that's when I went to the university. That one happened to be, I wasn't necessarily looking for a job, but it was, my wife works at the university, so she's a professor there now. And there was an opportunity in the College of Science. Those roles don't really come about unless somebody retires. Normally, somebody goes in those roles and they work 30 years and they retire. There's a pension.
There was like what, 2 or 3 guys in that shop?
Yeah, there was 3 of us when I was there. Yeah, and so when the role comes up, literally a guy retired. He was there for 30 years, and that was the first time a role had been open in that shop for like 20 years.
Yeah. So you raise your hand. You're like,
well, it was an opportunity at the time. We had Nico and he was young, and so Lindsay and I didn't have a lot of like one-on-one time, right? But then this was an opportunity that I was literally going to work in the basement of the same building as her. And it was also a flexible schedule, and we could have coffee every single day, lunch, see each other outside of like trading off tag team in this child that we're trying to keep
helping
alive.
the marriage a little bit. Yeah.
100%. It was again another opportunity where life dealt me some cards, and I played those cards in the way of like, hey, I think that this is good for us as a family. It was a huge pay cut. It was like a 50% pay cut, but it was like worth it from like the aspect of just like our relationship and stuff.
Yeah.
It was also really cool because I got to like, I didn't have that like marketing interface between me and the customer. My customer is directly like one of the research people, and I like went and talked to that professor. We'd work out what we needed to do. I would design it. We'd build it.
Yeah.
Make iterations.
To me, that job seemed like, one of the ultimate things you can do, because these professors would come to you and just say, I need this crazy deep space vacuum. Like, figure it out.
Yep.
It was
exactly
because those guys don't know how to design anything. Or I mean,
the worst ones were the ones that I thought that they could design something,
Okay,
right? You're
yeah.
like, then you're having to like twist their arm in the right direction. The ones that were like, this is what I want, and it's an end result.
yeah, I need to shoot a laser. Can you just figure it out? And then you're allowed to develop anything you want, right?
Yep. Yeah. So you just build it you design it, meet with them, say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. This is like, the requirements that you gave me. This is what I can hit. And then once you kind of get them thumbs up, you're like, hey, okay. Like you literally buy the material, you charge their grants that they're working on. So it was working with grant money and stuff a lot. And so they had like budgets that you were kind of working in to try to be friendly and stuff about. And
you had some mills and lathes down there.
Yeah.
Were they all manual or were
no.
some?
Yeah, so we had 5-axis mills. We have light tooling lathes. We had just 3-axis mill, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we had pretty much anything we needed we could make. We had giant lathes and stuff, like man-eating lathes, the ones that you're scared about being around, because we had to make huge vacuum chambers sometimes, right? So they were, 2 foot, 3 foot in diameter and stuff. We had to turn them down. And so that was really cool because the guys that were working there already, like I had a lot of good experience. Like when I was in college, I built my own CNC router because I needed to teach myself G code just to be a better engineer. And so I knew a lot about CNC when I went to that shop, but those guys taught me how to be a better manual machinist, which is valuable too, right? So now I kind of have both in hand. I can run a manual lathe, manual knee mill, and then I can jump on the 5-axis mill. And I actually showed those guys a couple things there, right? And so it worked out. It was a really good relationship and stuff.
But all of this is building on top of each other. We go all the way back to cutting something with an oxy torch, in your backyard, to solving problems on the racetrack, to your first job, in automotive, and then leveraging it for the oil industry at GE, and then really fancy pipettes and syringes, and then all the way to making stuff from scratch that's never been seen before in order to do an experiment that's never happened before. I guess what I'm getting at is a lot of people are like, oh, I want to do this job. I want to do this like rocketry job, or I want to get into automotive or whatever. But it doesn't start there. It starts all the way back through these different like chapters of your life.
It shouldn't, or you're going to be missing a lot of things.
Agreed.
Yeah, you definitely need to know how to go all the way back to the basics. And I still use those, right? Like even right now, like starting up HAViK and stuff, there's some redneck stuff going down in my shop on a daily basis, just trying to figure out things and get things to work right now. I was running literally a mold that I made for the sheets. I was flipping it over, and I'm like using the pilot holes on the bottom of it to punch it with the drill press, like just by like manually shoving it up over the drill. So like certain things you just have to be redneck about, and then there's certain things that I have like both in hand, right? Which is nice.
Yeah, I kind of want the audience to take away, like, I think you have to have a mix, because if you're one way or the other solely, it ain't going to work out. If you're pure redneck, you're going to hit a ceiling pretty fast.
You're just
But
not going to be able to work for GE.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to be a mechanic, or you're going to be able to figure things out in the field. You're an amazing person to be out in the field because you can get things back up and running.
Yeah.
But when you put you in an office, like a redneck in an office at GE, like they're wanting a certain quality caliber
But then
to come out of it.
the same thing too. If your only experience is at GE with unlimited budgets and the highest technology ever, it's going to be very difficult for you to function as an entrepreneur or as a guy in his garage trying to make a product, because you're so used to having micron level accuracy, 5-axis mills, and maybe all you have is an old Bridgeport. It's tough for some of those guys to go down a level, I guess.
And they spiral a lot because they're wanting perfection because that's the only thing that they know, right? And so then they just kind of never get it done. They never like actually launch anything or push anything through. And so you'll see them like where they're doing really cool things, like their ideas there. But there's a line in the sand where they need to be a little bit like more crude, and they don't know that side of things.
Yeah.
And that's actually something that I did learn at UNR from those manual machines and stuff. It's like, oh, close is good.
Yeah. Yeah. Close works. Yeah.
It's all right sometimes.
And so then we met because I remember things were going well at the university, and I think you had
I had too much time on my hands.
you had some time on your hands, and it's because I think you got good at it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I kind of want to do a side hustle, so you started making knives, and then at some point, because we were buddies, like you knew Drew Miles and some guys at the shop, so you came over and we cut some material for you.
Yep.
And then I was like, oh shit, this guy's smart. You'd be great on the team. So I wooed you over from the university. Took a little while.
Yeah, we ended up doing it where at the time, for about a year, I was contracting with you. I was working full time at the university, and I was making knives at night. So
Yes.
I'd like wake up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, go to the university until like 2. And then I would come to SendCutSend from like 2 until 4 or 5. And then I would go home, be a dad, husband. Everybody would go to sleep, and I'd go out in the shop until from like 9 to 2 o'clock in the morning and make knives.
Well, and then you would design Jettesend.
Well, that's what killed the whole hands. Yeah. So the original knife company was like, okay, like SendCutSend's getting really serious. Me and you started talking about being a little bit more serious. I'm like, I need to kill off a mistress that I got kind of going on right now, right? There's a little too much. And so got rid of the knife company. That worked out really well, just to transition into SendCutSend. And then we had the crazy Jettesend contraption.
Yeah. So at that time, every year we would exhibit at SEMA, and there was always SEMA Thrash because, SEMA's in October.
Yeah.
End of October.
End of October, yeah.
Usually around Halloween. And so every August, we'd be like, we should probably do something for SEMA. And then it would be September. And I was like, we still have plenty of time. And then it's like October 1, and we're like, oh crap, we have to get the crates there in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Let's thrash. So yeah, that's when you were really burning the candle at both ends. I remember, especially for Jettesend.
Yeah, I think we started Jettesend we started Jettesend early. I think in June we talked about it, where I think you gave me that little car. I don't know if you remember that. The little like sheet metal car. And you're like, I want to make a full-sized version of one of these and drive it at SEMA. And I was like, yeah. Let's do it. And then I think I went dark on you for like 3 weeks, designed something and gave you back like a cardboard version of it in like 12th scale.
Yep.
And it was just me and you. You're just like, let's make it lower and longer and wider.
Yeah,
and
I would
do
just
all
draw
these
on the
things.
dry erase board, and then you would make it a reality. I thought what was really cool about that whole process is I was always one where CAD for me was like, it was too slow. Mm-hmm. So I would just go out on the shop floor with, a torch or a plasma or something and make the stuff that I needed, because I needed that quick win. And you showed me that, hey, if you actually put your head down for 3 weeks straight and design everything to be perfect and perfect DFM and everything's going to assemble in a certain way, when it actually came time to put that thing together, it was like 24 hours.
Yeah, we did like a weekend.
Yeah, so I would have thrashed on it for 6 weeks and had 500 iterations versus a really, really clean design process and then really clean
I
assembly.
don't know
at
if
the
we
end.
recut any parts on that thing.
No, I don't think so.
I think it was first try on all of it.
Yeah, it all just kind of snapped together.
But it was 3 months of me every night, like working with it. And then all of a sudden we're like, I think we're ready. And we just like literally click send.
Yeah.
Right. And then SES cut it. So SendCutSend cut it. And then it was in the office, in the front office, in the old building. And it was like, 4 of us, we just started like assembling it. And the problem was that there was no instructions because it was all in here.
Yeah.
So like I was like telling you guys, like, oh, you got to put this together and stuff. But
no, that was a cool
super
project.
cool
And it was a
project.
good test of the SendCutSend system too.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, if you design it really well, and there's no issues with manufacturing, then what
Then
you see is
make
what
a
you get.
sheet metal car and drive it a couple miles down the Vegas Strip.
Yeah, that was, and you didn't burn anything down.
No, I mean
We almost burned down the
almost burned
Airbnb.
down. Yeah, we almost burned down the Airbnb. That thing, the jet fuel situation was a little sketchy.
So then you have a career with SendCutSend, and we're working together. It's really cool to do not only engineering and manufacturing projects with you, but then also like cutting corners and some of the media side and some of the marketing side, I guess, and the education side. And I think that's, at least I saw, it was really cool for you to be able to share some of these learnings, these life experiences that you've had from an engineering side and share it with our customers. And
It's funny, when you first came to me, this is actually a thing when I was still consulting, you were like, hey, what do you think about being in front of the camera and stuff? And I'm not a person that says no. I always say yes, and I figure it out. And
how'd those first couple takes go, Dom, with Jake in front of the camera?
I was
Don't-
here.
Oh,
it was before,
Sorry,
I think it was before Sarah was even here on the first one, wasn't it?
I don't know.
You
was it
came and
Keaton?
gave me, this was Keaton, and you came, I was like, could not get a single line out. You came and gave me a giant thing of whiskey.
Yeah.
I drank that, and then I was just drunk
You
and
were
rambling.
a moron. It was so bad.
I was like, this is not going well.
Like, I didn't think he could read. I was just like, oh, he's good at math. But,
It was bad.
apparently he can't read.
It's you're being kind, actually, with how you're describing it. But I'm
Whiskey
also one of,
helps. Whiskey helps.
it was too much whiskey. I was just drunk then at that point, and I didn't even know what was happening. But I'm also one of those people, I'm stubborn, and I'm like, if I'm not good at something, I want to get good at it.
Yeah.
And so thankfully, you've given me enough of an opportunity over a long enough
Just
time that
do
I'm,
the miles.
Now you're the face.
I don't know how I'm.
Still not going great. Still can't read.
Yeah, we don't do lines for me. I just make it up as I go.
Well, and that's the thing. People are like, hey, how do I get better at public speaking, or how do I get better at X, Y, Z? It's like, well, just do it. Just do it a bunch of times. And I don't consider myself a good public speaker, and I'm definitely not a podcast host or whatever. But
You're doing great.
It'll get better though. Like, this is episode whatever, however many we've done, 3, 4, something like that. Hopefully by episode 50, like, this is actually good. So it's anyone listening, just be persistent.
Bear with us.
It's gonna suck. Oh my God, when you watch things back, like I've listened back to things I've done on air or interviews, or I've listened back to some of our first videos, and I'm like, cringe, super cringe, gross. But you just get better, just keep at it. So SendCutSend is going well. We're doing all kinds of cool stuff. You're becoming YouTube famous, right?
Yeah, I've been recognized at the airport, weirdly, a couple times, which is weird.
Well, there's one time that you got recognized at the airport for being just an amazing stud in college, right?
Yeah. Well, I taught a class when I was working there, and one of the students saw me.
And what did she call you?
Hot Jake.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a little nickname, apparently, as a teacher, that I was Hot Jake.
That's you can kind of live on that peak for the rest of your life.
I told everybody that I knew after that happened. And the best part is that, so Brian Wolf, who also works here at SendCutSend, he was sitting next to me to like,
Oh, you have
confirm.
a witness too?
Yeah, Wolf was sitting next to
Oh
me.
God, I didn't know that.
It really happened.
Oh, I believe you. You're not a liar. I
know,
but
but-
you also have a witness.
She like looked at me, said, "Oh my God, it's Hot Jake." She said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry I said that." And then she ran to the back of the plane, and I just like turned to Wolf with the biggest shit and grin on my face, so didn't be like, "I know you heard that."
You are the worst person to give praise to too, because it just like makes you too powerful.
Yeah, that's what Dom says, that she's constantly trying to knock me off.
Yeah, we do. That's actually, it's a group effort. We all try and take you down a notch, and it just doesn't work.
It's inertia.
Yeah. So SendCutSend is going well. We're doing all kinds of cool education stuff, but I think you still have this like entrepreneurial flame in the back of your mind the whole time. So let's fast forward to today, and you're like, I'm going to get back into it. I'm pulling Havoc out of the ground now, right? So
Yeah,
HAViK is the new company.
HAViK is the new company. Yeah. So at the right now, still just doing media stuff for SendCutSend, which I'm super grateful for. I actually have a lot of fun, other than just hanging out with Dom all the time and stuff. But yeah, the team on the media side is super fun to work with. I think we're doing some really cool things right now for education kind of things in the background. So HAViK kind of becomes a thing again, right? Because I've always been, I think, very similar to you, right? Like we've had this conversation. I think our brains work very similar and stuff about just wanting to grow something and build something. And the knife company before was going really well, actually too well, right? That's why I had to like kill it, because I just didn't have time for it and stuff. And now I think that this is the right time. I've learned a lot from you over the last 3.5 years about just like how to start a business and grow a business and stuff. So I'm definitely pulling a lot of information that I've gotten, more tools that I've put in my tool belt over the last couple of years, from not an engineering perspective, but a business perspective, like how to grow it. And so, yeah, we started HAViK. We did our first launch like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago from this podcast, or when we're recording this.
You guys sold out.
And we sold out. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't huge. We didn't have a huge lot and stuff. But we're doing another, lot that we're going to be releasing here in another week. But I've done a ton of R&D, so we're doing more like additions and stuff to it, and we're making improvements to the process and stuff. But the hardest part for me is just trying to figure out where that line is of being like, okay, we're close enough. Put it out there.
Okay.
Kind of what we talked about before,
Yeah,
right? We're
yeah.
just like, well, I want it to be right, but at the same time, like if we sit here and just kind of
No, you
perfect
could-
it in the garage, then
Yeah, you could
take
plan
forever.
and refine it for 2 more years, or you keep putting it out there and actually seeing what happens. So there's like planning versus observation.
And that's something that's a big thing that I've picked up here, right? Being in the management side with you over the last couple of years, I know for a fact there was a couple times where like, screw it, it's close enough. Like
Yeah.
we'll figure it out as we're going, and we'll perfect it over time, and it worked. And so here it was more of like, all right, we got a product. Screw it. Let's turn it on. Let's see what happens.
Well, and that's the fastest way to get real feedback. Your customers are going to tell you, "Hey, I love this part of it, but this part could be better." Or you realize, the packaging is falling apart in transit, or I have some sort of weird inventory control issue or something like that. Like, it's difficult to learn that stuff if you're just planning versus doing. So, and right now you're doing.
Yeah, we're doing. Yeah, we're just by the skin of my teeth right now. I'm getting by, but it's literally, I think, out of like the first 20 knives that went out the door, I think every single packaging was different, because I was like, I don't like that. I'd tweak it, and the second package would be different than the first one.
Yeah, but thank God you didn't order 1,000 boxes, and then by number 10 you're like, crap, these aren't going to work. So just go and figure it out.
We're planning on like the ragged edge of like lead times to having things in stock, because we have like just enough boxes where like, well, if we get too many orders, we're gonna run out of boxes. But I don't want to order, like you said, 1,000, because what if we're gonna change something?
Yeah.
So we're like right on that ragged edge. But it's going really, really well. Just a ton of like R&D stuff. Like there is the engineer side of me where I'm like really digging in deep and trying to make things really consistent. But then there's also the hands-on part of like hand finishing the knives and having a little bit more character and stuff to them.
So what's one of your big learnings? If you put on your entrepreneur hat and there's knife company version 1 versus knife company version 2, like what's the biggest difference? Like how did you approach the first version? And then now that you have clean sheet, what's the biggest change in how you're approaching version 2?
I'm definitely putting in all of my time on this, right? So, I am doing a little bit of marketing stuff with you guys, but this is my everyday thing now, definitely fully self-employed. And with that, the day-to-day is like, it's broken up into 2 sections for me. So I make knives in the morning. So I try to like fill stock in the morning or fulfill orders. And then at a certain point, I'm like, okay, I've hit enough today production wise. I'm going to switch over to R&D mode. And then I start moving on to the next product, the next feature, or improving the current one that I'm doing right now. So like a lot of this week, the first launch, like the sheaths sucked. Like I'm not happy with them, but it was one of those things, like we pushed it out. The knives I was happy with, the sheaths not. And so this week's been new molds, new fixturing, all that kind of stuff, and I got it dialed now. They're great.
But because you're dedicated now, it's your full-time thing, you can compress the time of those iterations, right? If it's part-time, a new sheath or something could take
2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
This one was a day and a half.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like, yeah, it's like literally I got the mill there. Like I'm like, this is what I'm doing right now.
So what would you tell the audience as far as like, what are some good indicators of when to make your side hustle your full hustle?
I don't think that there's ever like, it's like getting, having a kid. It's never like a perfect time. So you have to like full send, like you just have to jump into the deep end eventually. I think the very first time I didn't know what I didn't know. And so there was a lot of, like, I didn't know anything about the business side. I've learned a lot from SendCutSend on the business side. And so now this one, it feels more like just a normal project for me. And I think if it feels normal for you, I think that that's a good time to just like jump into your side hustle if you wanted to. If you're
when it's not daunting,
when it's not a daunting task, or if you don't feel like anxiety about the unknown, like I don't feel like there's a lot of unknown. I feel like this is the same thing as the jettison, where I'm like, it's just a process. I need to walk through the process and follow the tools that are in my toolbox, and I'll be successful on the other side of it. It's just going to take time. Be patient. Work through the steps. Don't get too caught up with 6 months from now, 12 months from now. Like focus on what's next. Just keep stepping through it. And that's like something that last time I like couldn't even wrap my head around the business kind of thing, right? It was just like I was kind of keeping up, and it just felt like it was a lot of anxiety. I didn't know the other half. This time I'm like, it's just a project.
Yeah, it's not your first rodeo, but
second.
Yeah, that. But I mean, even in your careers, there's been projects. Even if you're working at GE or something, there's like a project and it takes 6 months, and then you get it over with. And the next time you tackle a project like that, you're like, oh, I've kind of seen this before. There's similarities in everything that we do, and especially even if you're going to start a business. There's similarities. Like if you have a soap company, but then you're going to start a T-shirt company, there's still inventory, there's still vendors, there's still some similarities. Yeah. So I would always encourage someone, if you have entrepreneurial, you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to own a business, start a business. Like you said with kids, you'll never have enough money, you'll never have enough time, you'll never have a big enough house. Yeah. Just have the kid and then figure it out. Yeah. Just start some sort of business and keep it as a side hustle. Get a few of those under your belt. And then by the time it's your second or third rodeo, you can be like, okay, I'm less scared. I think I've seen some of these things before. I'm going to dedicate it full time. And then that's really where success comes from.
Yeah. I think you have to be slightly laid back with just the ebbs and flows of the business. And that's something I've like seen over the last couple of years. You listen to comedy, right?
Yeah.
You know Mitch Hedberg?
Yeah.
So he has that old joke about Pringles was going to be a tennis ball company, but when the tennis balls were supposed to show up, it was a bag of potatoes. So they're like, fuck it, cut them up.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's kind of how you have to run a business. You're like, oh, screw it. We're just going to do this now.
That's
like a little bit. Like you just have to be.
Oh, we just did that in sync. Hopefully that's on camera. So I think it comes down to confidence too. It's like confidence in your abilities, confidence in your experiences, and then being able to say like, yeah, it's scary, but I know I can get myself through this somehow.
Yeah.
Maybe it's confidence from having some resources, having experience, having friends, and great staff or great buddies or whatever that can hold you up too. So, and I think you have that in spades.
I do.
So
yeah, I have just all the contacts and stuff that I've acquired over the last 15 years, just within the industry and stuff.
I think the opposite of that though is if you don't have the confidence, stop and build it up before you do something, because I've seen people who get too nervous and they're too scared about what if situations, and then they just fumble, and it's really hard to recover from.
Yeah, you have to get so much confidence that everybody's trying to knock you down all the time, right, Dom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually probably a really good indicator.
Yeah, it's when everybody's like, dude, people need to stop telling you how good you are.
What are you excited for right now? What's the future of HAViK? Like, what are you itching to get out into the world?
Well, so the thing that I'm excited about is the growth. Like, it's the process. Like, it was kind of cool. I came into SendCutSend early, right? And so I was able to see so much growth and so much like innovation. And I'm probably most excited about that with HAViK. Not necessarily individual products. I just want to see like the growth of the brand and just keep working on that, because it is to me a project, and I like working on the project just as much as I like the end result. And so seeing that evolution kind of come through.
That's a common theme that I see with a lot of successful business owners is they're not looking for the exit at the end. They're not looking for it to be finalized. They're just enjoying the build the entire time.
Yeah,
And
I'm so excited for it because I have like a general idea of kind of where I want to go with the company and the brand, right? And so that helps, right? You have to have some direction and stuff. But I liked also the unknown to it. So like the little turns that we're gonna have to take, the little tweaks we're gonna have to take, and adjust. And as it grows, so I'm just excited for that unknown part. Yeah. The individual products and stuff, I do want to get into more just like outdoor gear, generally speaking. Like we don't want to just be 100% a knife company, but knives are going to be our bread and butter. If I were to go out in the wilderness and you gave me one tool, it would be a knife. Like it's a versatile thing, So we do like that from like a outdoor survival kind of aspect.
For anyone listening, and they have an idea and they're sitting on it. Maybe they have a 9 to 5 and they're like, man, I really want to do this thing. What's your number one piece of advice for them?
You don't have to do it by yourself, right? So there's companies out there that can help you with that. Like manufacturing, right? Some people feel like it's daunting just getting something made. And nowadays, especially with like the internet and like where we're at now, it's like you can get anything made.
Are you doing a SendCutSend tie-in right
A little
now?
bit.
That was really nice of you.
You're calling me out.
Dude, you just slid right in there.
I was going to do it super subtle, but like companies like SendCutSend, right? Like there's like my product that I'm making right now, I get my base materials from SendCutSend. I don't have to source a fiber laser. Yeah. There's companies that give you access to them, right?
1095 public?
1095 is public. It's currently getting stocked right now.
Okay. Yeah, so we are bringing back 1095.
It is public though. It's
hardenable steel. Yeah, knife steel.
But yeah, so I get a lot of, there's G10. That's where I get my, my G10 handles. I'm also making aluminum handles. So I'm getting those blanks and stuff from here. But even from the box manufacturing standpoint, right? Like I have custom printed boxes and stuff that my knives come in. I designed it online and just ordered them, and I didn't necessarily need anybody to help me with it, but I didn't have to go and go down to Office Depot and buy a box and come up with stickers and all that kind of stuff. You can just kind of find that stuff easy now.
Offload some of it.
So offloading that is huge.
What you're getting at is we at SendCutSend, our background before I started SendCutSend, I had a software company, and it was a SaaS, software as a service, so subscription based. And in the subscription business, you have a concept of churn. So a certain number of people cancel their membership or whatever. When I started SendCutSend, I often bragged. I was like, "Oh, we don't have a concept of churn. People maybe they don't order every single day, but they'll order a few times a year or whatever." So I was really proud that we didn't have churn, at least in the early years. Mm-hmm. And now we actually do have a concept of churn, and it's when the customer or the company grows to a point where they can actually have their own equipment, bring it in house, and I think that's really important for a lot of people to hear is you don't have to have all this stuff, in your garage. Like you have a VF2 in your garage.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you have?
Old ass one, 1995. She purrs like a nice little.
It's awesome.
Yeah, she's great.
And at some point, you'll have beautiful 5-axis machines that are brand new, whatever. But for now, you don't necessarily have to have a corrugated box maker or a screen printing thing, or you don't have to have a laser in order to cut your stuff. You can outsource it, but the end goal is integrate vertically, and then graduate so that you can have all that stuff under your control, and then that's where the scale really takes off too, when you have your own equipment.
100%. Yeah, you can. Yeah, that part is what feels, I think, the most daunting at the beginning, is when you're trying to piece the whole thing together. Like, what part do I make? What part do I have offset to somebody else? And so luckily for me, I've been doing it long enough. It's pretty cut and dry of what I can do in house and what makes sense, especially with my amount of time. My limiting factor right now with HAViK is I'm the only person there, right? Is how much time do I have available in the day? That's really what limits my product. Once I have some more money flowing in, then I can add people, which then allows me to make more product, which allows me to have more people, and then it starts snowballing, right?
One of the things that frustrates me is I hear people say, "Oh, I can't get this manufactured in America. I designed this really cool chair, and I called up a bunch of companies, and they won't make it for me. I have to go to China or whatever." I'm like, "Well, are you really a chair manufacturer if you're outsourcing it, you know. And so I think what I would love people to do is like, yeah, maybe you have to outsource your prototype, or maybe you have to use a bunch of different vendors and then assemble it in house. But really, if you want to be a manufacturer, your end goal is to have the equipment and be a manufacturer. There was something going around recently. This guy he had an idea for a barbecue brush, and it was Smarter Every Day, the Smarter Every Day YouTube channel. He was like, hey, I can't get this made in the US. No one will make it for me. And I was like, well, you could get the injection molding done. You could have someone, you know, process the brush bristles, but you're going to have to assemble it in house, or you're going to have to go buy a 1995, you know, VF2, cut a mold, do your own injection molding, and then you're actually a barbecue brush manufacturer. You know, otherwise you're just a designer.
Well, it's like I could have had like all my sheets just made by a third party, but I have the VF2, and it's one of those things that I just made my own molds. I made my own little vacuum table, and now I'm just manufacturing them myself. Yeah. The one thing that you do get from that is that you get control over your process that way too, right? And your lead times are more predictable because you don't have to have this third-party person fulfilling things.
Someone's like, oh, I have this great design for a blade and a handle and a sheath and everything, and I called a bunch of manufacturers, and no one will make this for me. You know, I have to go to China. It's like, well, you're not really a manufacturer at that point.
I mean, I could have easily gone down that direction, right? Yeah. Like you can easily go down that direction where I'm going to find somebody else to just like make all the stuff, and I'm just going to either assemble it or I'm just going to directly like white label it out.
Right.
But you just don't have any control over that. And also like with my background, I have the mindset, I guess, to put all that manufacturing together.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's why you're going to be successful.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you.
So where can people find HAViK?
So everything is underneath Spread HAViK, HAViK. So www.spreadhavic.com, and then Instagram, YouTube, it's at Spread HAViK. Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this.
Do we have an outro? Am I supposed to say something?
Can you say, like, thanks for listening? Love to have your feedback. Find us on Insta and YouTube at SendCutSend.
Can we just use that?
Thanks for joining us on today's episode. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can email us at justgonnasendit@sendcutsend.com, or find us on socials at SendCutSend at Jim Belosic. Don't forget to subscribe, download, and share with your friends. Thanks again for listening. We'll catch you on the next episode.